Good afternoon. The 17th meeting of the 73rd term of your Baltimore City Council is now called to order. Members of the council, due to us being virtual, please note that I'll recognize you by saying your name. Once you're recognized, please state your name and then begin to speak. In lieu of an invocation this evening, I'm going to invite the council members to bow your heads and join me in a moment of reflection. Thank you. Now we're going to turn it over to the Pledge of Allegiance. If you have a flag, please stand up and we'll turn to your flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, if you could now call the roll.
President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter, Costello, Stokes, Glover, Ramos. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please make a note that Councilwoman Porter is not present this evening and her absence is excused. We will now proceed with the adoption of the journal.
Mr. President, the journal of the August 16th, 2021 proceedings are on the council members' desk.
Without objection, the journal will be adopted. Hearing and seeing none, the journal is now adopted. Now we're going to turn it over. Bills signed by the mayor can be found on page 2 of the agenda. We'll now move to executive nominations. Madam Clerk, please read the first nomination.
A 21-0049, Yosef Kabita, Bureau Head, Bureau of Water and Wastewater, Baltimore City Department of Public Works.
This nomination has been assigned to Rules and Oversight Committee. We'll now move to bills being introduced for first reading. Madam Clerk, please read the first bill.
City Council Bill 21-0121, American Rescue Plan Funds Performance Oversight, for the purpose of requiring the Director of the Department of Finance with input from collaborating agencies to provide the City Council with monthly reports, quarterly briefings, equity assessments, and annual reports regarding the disbursement and management of the $641 million in federal funding the City of Baltimore has received from the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund to improve transparency and accountability for the pivotal task of responding to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and providing for the termination of this ordinance. Sponsors are President Mosby, Councilmember Costello, Middleton, McCray, Conway, Schleifer, Stokes, and Bullock.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As was in the preamble, the purpose of this bill is to ensure that the council, as our legislative duty, is for oversight. We understand and know that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the city to really eradicate and sustainably change some systematic problems that have been plaguing our city for far too long. So this is a way where the administration, in coordination with the council, will be able to come in and provide regular updates on the actual vetting as well as spending, but also more importantly, ensure that we are investing this money and not spending this money. So what do we expect to be the key performance indicators, the goals, the objectives? What do we expect the natural outcome would be for spending each and every penny of the $641 million over the course of 2 years? So we look forward to partnering with the mayor. We're excited that the mayor is very supportive. We've heard his comments earlier today. We look forward to a speedy hearing as well as getting into the nuts and the bolts associated with the spending plan. So right now, are there any additional co-sponsors or any questions or concerns?
Mr. President, I think earlier I said I'd like to co-sponsor.
Okay, if we could please let the record reflect that Councilwoman Ramos would like to be a co-sponsor on this bill. Yes, I remember you from the luncheon, as well as Councilman Torrance, Councilman Cohen. You raised your hand earlier too, Councilman Cohen. Sorry, we missed that. So far we have Councilwoman Ramos, Councilman Torrance, and Councilman Cohen to be added as co-sponsors. Hearing and seeing no additional questions or concerns, this bill has been assigned to Ways and Means Committee. Madam Clerk, on to the next bill.
City Council Bill 21-0122, franchise installation of 5 utilities/duct bank for the purpose of granting a franchise to the Johns Hopkins University Developer Agreement Number 1710 to construct, use, and maintain 5 utilities duct banks, subject to certain terms, conditions, and reservations, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsors are President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to Economic Community Development Committee. Now on to 21-123, Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 21-0123, franchise underground conduit and fiber optic cable for the purpose of granting a franchise to the state of Maryland, Maryland Transit Administration to construct, use, and maintain an underground conduit and fiber optic cable, subject to certain terms, conditions, and reservations, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsors are President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This bill has been assigned to Economic Community Development Committee. Now on to 21-124, Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 21-0124, Corrective Bill 2021, Definitions, Rules of Interpretation, and Time Computations for the purpose of repealing the many definitions and rules of statutory interpretation and time computation that have been superseded by the enactment of code-wide standardized definitions and rules, clarifying certain purposeful variations, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsors are President Mosby on behalf of the administration.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This bill has been assigned to Rules and Oversight Committee. Now on to 21-125, Madam Clerk.
City Council Bill 21-0125, Trespass Towing Revisions for the purpose of making substantive and technical revisions to Article 15, Licensing and Regulations, Subtitle 22, Towing Services, Trespass Towing, establishing certain maximum charges for towing services, specifying certain required information to be included on towing service receipts and on daily logs maintained by each towing service, specifying certain limitations on incomplete tows, requiring that a towing service must accept credit cards, prohibiting certain instances of patrol towing, making certain stylistic changes, conforming, clarifying, and correcting related provisions, and generally related to the regulation of trespass towing services in Baltimore City. Sponsors are Councilmember Dorsey, Burnett, Ramos, Cohen, Bullock, and Conway.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I would like to recognize Councilman Dorsey. I yield the floor to you, Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, if you're not familiar with exactly what trespass towing is as a term of art, you're probably in the majority. Trespass towing is towing by private companies from private lots. It's done on an agreement contractually between a property owner or manager and a private towing company to clear cars from their lot when they're not supposed to be there. This bill is simple. Too often, Baltimore City residents and guests fall victim to predatory and exploitative practices and fees that our current law permits. Our laws are not aligned with best practices, and too often the people who pay the price are the people who can least afford to. This bill addresses all of the most common problems reported inside and outside of Baltimore, including patrol towing, the very definition of predatory towing, which we allow. The bill also sets maximum allowable towing charges, as well as the fee to release a vehicle before the tow driver leaves the scene with it. And it requires the towing companies, typically presently operating as cash-only businesses, accept payment by credit card as an option. There are a couple of other things, as you heard in the long form of the title, like updates to the required information to go on receipts. I'm really thankful for the support from Maryland Consumer Rights Coalition and Maryland PIRG, the mayor's office, and this bill, I think, is really going to protect consumers in a vulnerable position and is long overdue. We will bring ourselves in line with other jurisdictions like Montgomery County that have been leading on this. And hopefully people in Baltimore City will fall victim to towing much less frequently, but when they do, have to pay much less in order to be able to go on with their lives after retrieving their vehicles. So I appreciate the time to be able to explain this and the support of all my co-sponsors on this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you. We appreciate your leadership on this. At this point, are there any additional co-sponsors or questions or concerns? I see Councilman Dorsey with his hand raised as co-sponsor. I'm not seeing any others. This bill has been assigned to Rules and Oversight Committee. Now we're going to move on to resolutions. The first resolution. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you said you saw me with my hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course you support this bill. I meant, my brain was telling me to say Councilman Torrance, but I said Dorsey. All right, so if we could please let the record reflect that Councilman Torrance will be coming on as a co-sponsor. This bill has been assigned to Rules and Oversight. Now, Madam Clerk, on to resolutions 21-59R.
City Council Resolution 21-0059R, approval for the exchange of a Class 87 license to a Class A7 license, 604 Poplar Grove Street, for the purpose of providing the required approval under Maryland Code Annotated Alcoholic Beverages, Section 12902 1D1, to allow the license holder holding a valid Class B7 beer, wine, and liquor license issued for the use at 604 Poplar Grove Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21216, to apply to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City to exchange their Class B7 beer, wine, and liquor license for a Class A7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Sponsors are Councilmember Bullock.
This resolution has been assigned to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Now on to 21-60R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0060R, approval for the exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license, 1901 Edmonton Avenue, for the purpose of providing the required approval under Maryland Code Annotated Alcoholic Beverages, Section 12902.1D1, to allow the license holder holding a valid Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license issued for use at 1901 Edmonton Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21223, to apply to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City to exchange their Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license for a Class A7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Sponsors are Councilmember Bullock.
This resolution has been assigned to Economic and Community Development Committee. On to the next resolution, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0061R, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, for the purpose of declaring September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, honoring the children whose lives have been lost to cancer, offering condolences to the families of those children, celebrating survivors, and advocating for more research on the prevention and treatment of pediatric cancer. Sponsors are Councilmember Ramos.
At this point, I would like to recognize the gentlewoman from District 14. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues. I introduced this resolution in honor of my little constituent, Brixton Henfield, who passed away from cancer last year, just as the pandemic was happening. And her family, Laura is her mother, and her sister wanted to do this resolution as a way to raise awareness of childhood cancer. In the US, according to the American Childhood Cancer Association, 1 in 285 children will be diagnosed with cancer by the age of 20. And childhood cancer, there are 12 cancers that are designated childhood cancer, and they only receive 4% of all the cancer research funding. Brixton was a really wonderful little girl. She died at the age of 7. Her sister, on behalf of her sister and her mother, I want to thank Casey Cares, the Baltimore Ravens, and all of Brixton's health providers who worked very hard with her and really celebrated her as she was going through this process. So we hope that this resolution, more people will know about the issue. And work hard to make sure that we get more funding and awareness. So with this resolution, we wanted to declare September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month Not to take away from everything else that September is, but certainly just shining a light on this issue on behalf of Brixton and her family. So I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Without objections, we will suspend the rules. Hearing and seeing none, the rules are suspended. Councilwoman Ramos, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I move for immediate adoption.
Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
President Mosby,
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen, Councilmember McCray,
Yes.
Councilmember Dorsey, Councilmember Conway, Councilmember Schleifer,
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton,
Yes.
Torrance, Burnett,
Yes.
Bullock. Councilmember Porter is absent. Costello,
Aye.
Stokes, Glover, and Ramos.
Thank you,
Aye.
Madam Clerk. Just for the record, please note that, again, Councilwoman Porter and Councilman Glover have excused absences for today. The motion is approved. This resolution is now adopted. Now on to 21-62R, Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 21-0062R, American Rescue Plan Quarterly Oversight Hearings. For the purpose of calling for quarterly budget oversight hearings regarding the disbursement and management of $641 million in federal funding to the City of Baltimore through the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund to improve transparency and accountability for the pivotal task of responding to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Sponsors are President Mosby, Councilmember Costello, Middleton, McCray, Conway, Schleifer, Stokes, Burnett, Ramos, Torrance, and Bullock.
Thank you. And I think there's some additional co-sponsors in Ramos, Cohen, and was that, no, Torrance. Is that everyone? All right. As discussed earlier at luncheon, this is just a companion bill. This is a resolution of it. You know, at the end of the day, outside of just the American Rescue Plan, there's going to be a tremendous amount of money that's coming into the city as it relates to us getting out of COVID-19 or trying to battle with COVID-19 because we're still in the midst of it. So it's really important that we utilize this money in a way of getting our biggest bang for the buck, understanding and mapping out tangible return on investments and going after things that are going to be transformative. It's not too often that we're going to get a influx of this sort of money at one particular time at such a short period of time. And it's really important for all of us to be on the same page. More importantly, it's important for our residents to have full transparency and understand and know that there is accountability in ensuring that the money is being spent in an equitable way. So again, excited that the mayor and the administration is totally on the same page with us. Everybody has heard his comments from earlier today. Look forward to having very healthy and robust discussions. Later on, the chair of Ways and Means will announce the committee meetings. This resolution has been assigned to the Ways and Means Committee. You can now moving on to the consent calendar. You can find it on the back in section A of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So
Motion to approve.
There's
second.
been a motion and it's been properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. The calendar is now adopted. We will now move on to bills on second reader. First up, we're going to go to Public Safety and Government Operations. Madam Clerk, if you could read in for second reader, 21-30.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of myself. Before we go to 21-30, I'd like to recognize Chairman Costello.
thank you, Mr. President. I move we read short titles for second and third reader for the duration of the meeting.
We'll be on short titles for second and third reader for the duration of the meeting unless I hear some objections. Hearing and seeing none, we are on short title. Madam Clerk, if you could go to second reader, Council Bill 21-30. I'm sorry,
Council
21-30.
Council Bill 21-0030, Coordinated Multi-Agency Code Inspections.
At this point, I'd like to recognize Chairman Conway. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill came out of committee on September 1st, 2021, sponsored by myself, and the committee approved the bill as favorable with amendments. The amendments were sent to council members electronically, and I want to move the committee amendments.
Anything to note on the committee amendments, Chairman Conway?
Um, don't recall exactly what they were. You caught me
Thanks for being
flat-footed.
honest, man.
I usually have it all already.
No, it's all good. Yeah, you're always right. But I did see the email. Everybody has the amendments. Are there any objections or problems with the amendments? Okay, well, if there's a motion on the floor, is there a second to approve the amendments?
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of adopting the committee amendments, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are now adopted. Back to you. I yield the floor to you, Chairman Conway.
Thank you. And I want to move the bill as favorable as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of moving the bill as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This bill is approved in a minute and will be printed for third reading. That's our only second reader bill tonight. So now we're going to turn over to third reading. Madam Clerk, if you could read in the first bill for third reading. I believe it's 21-12.
21-0012, rezoning 1214 through 1220 Whole Street. President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter is absent, Costello, Stokes, Glover is absent, Ramos.
This bill is approved. On to 21-51, Madam Clerk.
21-0051, rezoning 4900 Boston Street. President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter is absent, Costello, Stokes, Glover is absent, Ramos.
This bill is approved. On to 21-55, Madam Clerk.
21-0055, zoning conditional use retail goods establishment with alcoholic beverages sales, 2600 North Howard Street. President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter is absent, Costello, Stokes, Glover is absent, Ramos.
This bill is approved. Now on to 21-63, Madam Clerk.
21-0063, rezoning 1201 Dundalk Avenue. President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter absent, Costello, Stokes, Glover absent, Ramos.
This bill is approved. Now on to 21-64, Madam Clerk.
21-0064, zoning conditional use retail goods establishment with alcoholic beverages sales, a portion of 3901 Boston Street, also known as 3975 Boston Street. President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter absent, Costello, Stokes, Glover absent, Ramos.
This bill is approved. Now on to 21-65, Madam Clerk.
21-0065, rezoning 1103 through 1109 North Washington Street. President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter absent, Costello, Stokes, Glover is absent, Ramos.
This bill is approved. Now on to 21-96, Madam Clerk.
21-0096, building code permit exemptions for shed, etc. construction. President Mosby, Councilmember Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Burnett, Bullock, Porter absent, Costello, Stokes, Glover absent, Ramos.
This bill is approved. Now we're going to move on to committee announcements. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chairs, when you hear a committee, please proceed with your committee announcements. First, we're going to go to Madam Vice President, Chair of Economic Community Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Economic and Community Development Committee will hold the following virtual WebEx hearings on 10/05/21 at 2 p.m. Bill number 21-0071. Sponsor the President for the Department of Transportation. The bill title is Street Encroachment 1707 Eastern Avenue. Also on 10/5/21 at 2:05 p.m. Bill number 21-0090. Sponsor the President for the Department of Transportation. Again, is city streets closing Eaton Street and 4 10-foot alleys bounded by Druid Hill Avenue, Gold Street, Division Street, and Baker Street. Also on 10/5/21 at 2:10 p.m., Bill number 21-100. Sponsor President for Department of Transportation. The bill title is City Property Grant of Easements. Also on 10/5/21 at 2:15 p.m., Bill number 21-0083. President for the Department of Rec and Parks, the franchise gas regulation station utility at Lower Gwynn Falls Park. Also on 10/19/21 at 2 p.m., Bill number 21-0087, sponsor Councilman Stokes. It's the rezoning 100 East 23rd Street, 2300 St. Paul Street, 2305 St. Paul Street, 2313 St. Paul Street, and 2317 St. Paul Street. Also on 10/19/21 at 2:05 p.m., Bill number 21-0098, sponsor Councilman Bullock, zoning conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 5 dwelling units in the R8 zone district, variances 1100 West Lafayette Avenue. Also on 10/19/21 at 2:10 p.m., Bill number 21-0111. Councilman Torrance is the sponsor, zoning conditional use conversion of a single dwelling family unit to 3 dwelling units in the R7 zone district, variance 2312 Utah Place. And lastly, on 10/19/21 at 2:15 p.m., Bill number 21-0116, Councilman Torrance, sponsor, rezoning block 3518A, lot 001. And that's all I have for now, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Madam Vice President. Now we're going to turn it over to the Chair of Economic, Workforce, and Youth, Chairman Stokes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Education, Workforce, and Youth Committee will hold a hearing Thursday, October the 21st, 2021, beginning at 5 p.m. Council Resolution 21-053R, investigative hearing school lunches introduced by Councilwoman Odette Ramos. And the virtual WebEx meeting will be televised on cable TV 25. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. Now on to Health, Environment, and Technology. I'll turn the floor over. I yield it to Chairwoman McCray.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Health, Environment, and Technology Committee will hold a hearing on Wednesday, November the 17th, 2021 at 10 a.m. on Resolution 21-0046R, investigative hearing use of facial recognition technology in Baltimore. The hearing will be conducted virtually through WebEx. Thank you.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. Now on to Public Safety and Government Operations. Chair Conway, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have any meeting announcements, but I did want to correct the record for the for Bill 21-0030. I misstated and said that I was the sponsor of that bill. I was not. The sponsor was Councilman Burnett. And as far as to the question about the amendments, there are a few, namely removing DPW and the Environmental Control Board from the ordinance, and then removing a mandate that the city administrator pull together these agencies and provide the flexibility for that decision, sunsetting it within 1 year, and then adding a study and report. So those are the changes. With that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the clarification. Now we're going to move on to Rules and Legislative Oversight. Chairman Schleifer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on September 30th at 2 p.m. for EA 21-0049, Yosef Kabedi, Bureau Head of Water and Wastewater. The Rules and Legislative Oversight Committee will also hold a bill hearing on number CC 21-0093, also on September 30th, 2021 at 2:05 p.m., and that is for revising the whistleblower's rights and responsibilities.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and last but certainly not least, Ways and Means. Chairman Costello, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Ways and Means Committee will reconvene a hearing on Tuesday, September 28th at 10:01 a.m. Council Bill 21-0041, Board of Estimates, Basic Organization and Procurement Thresholds. Mr. President, I move to suspend Rules 10.2 and 10.3 to announce hearings.
Without any objections, Rules 10.2 and 10.3 will be suspended. Hearing and seeing none, Rules 10.2 and 10-3 are suspended. Mr. Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Ways and Means Committee will hold hearings on Council Resolution 21-0062R, American Rescue Plan Quarterly Oversight Hearings at the request of Council President Mosby on the following 5 dates and times. These will be virtual WebEx hearings. First, on Tuesday, October 5th at 10 a.m. This will be an office structure and program overview. Second, on Tuesday, November 16th, 2021 at 10 a.m. That'll be our first quarterly review. On Tuesday, February 15th, 2022 at 10 a.m. That will be our second quarterly review. Next, Tuesday, May 17th, 2022 at 10 a.m. That'll be our third quarterly review. And finally, Tuesday, August 9th of 2022 at 10 a.m. That will be our fourth quarterly review. Mr. President, as you're aware, this hearing schedule was built in cooperation with the Mayor's Office, specifically with the ARPA Office and Government Relations team. These dates were specifically picked to be a certain period of time past when the office will be responsible for submitting quarterly reports to the U.S. Department of Treasury to ensure compliance with ARPA rules and regulations. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. Now we're going to move on to regular announcements. Members, I'm sorry.
Mr.
Madam Vice President, yes.
Yes. Before we move to the next piece, I have some other, I guess, bill corrections. May I proceed?
No. Sure, Madam Vice President, the floor is yours.
Looking at the third reader, final passage, bill number 21-0051 should have been held. There was a third reading vote on the bill tonight, and we are waiting for the Economic and Community Development to review bill number 21-0056.
Madam President, did we hold that up at the last meeting for that same reason?
I know that 21-0956 is the companion bill.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do those bills together because they're both companion bills. So 21-0051 needs to move along with 21-0056.
I think they are companion bills, and unless you tell me otherwise, Madam Vice President, it would have been great to pass them out at the same time. I think that we've already gone through third reader on this particular one. Unless you tell me that it's going to prevent or create some issue associated with the companion bill, I say we just let this ride because we voted out already, and we just move on
Okay.
and working with the companion bill.
Okay. We can also talk to the mayor, I guess, as
Yeah, I
we,
just connected with Matt, so we're gonna also reach out to the mayor's office of government relations just to ensure they're on the same page.
and I know that Councilman Cohen is the sponsor of this bill, so if he's okay, I'm sure we're all okay as well.
Councilman Cohen, yeah, I think we've already passed it out. It'd been great to kind of do it together to make it nice, neat, and clean.
Right,
I don't think that this hurts anything else with the other bill. We've already passed it
okay,
out. I think we just keep it moving.
okay,
We're gonna,
just making sure.
yeah, no, thanks for pointing that out, Madam Vice President, and I'll ensure that Matt copies you as well as Councilman Cohen on the email to Mayor's Office of Government Relations, just to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And you said there was another thing to bring up?
That was it.
Oh, we're
That was
good?
it. Those
Okay.
two bills.
All right, thank you. Thank you again, Madam Vice President, for calling that out. Now we're going to move on to regular announcements. Are there any regular announcements from members at this time? The first hand up is a hand that is very familiar to us on regular announcements, and that is the hand of Councilwoman Odette Ramos. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues. I have two announcements and then a request for a moment of silence. The first is, again, I want to thank you, Mr. President, and our colleagues for supporting the effort to try to get more people signed up for the homeowner's property tax credit. This is a very important tool to help people stay out of tax sale and reduce their tax debt. If people don't know about it, if you own your home and earn less than $60,000, it is a credit that will help significantly reduce your tax debt. So just wanted to make that additional plug and hope that people will apply prior to October 1st and to call the hotline 443-961-6220 to get more information. And again, thank you, Mr. President, for coming to the press conference and for my colleagues for all your support.
No, thank you. Real quick, Councilwoman Ramos, thank you for spearheading it. Just another late push. If we all could go and continue to push it out on our social media, any email blasts, any community meetings that your folks are attending. We know that this is going to help our most vulnerable population when we talk about generational wealth. We talk about the racial wealth gap. When we talk about home ownership and property rights in the city of Baltimore, this speaks directly to it. Again, Councilwoman Ramos, thank you for your leadership in this department, but let's continue to push this message out for the next 2 weeks.
Thank you so much. And any help I can provide to any of our council offices, let me know. And then my second thing is that Hispanic Heritage Month starts on Wednesday. It is September 15th through October 15th. There will be a series of events throughout the city to celebrate Hispanic heritage. One of the big ones is Fiesta Baltimore, which will be October 3rd. And I'll have more details about that next meeting and invite you all to come to learn much more about the multitude of cultures that are here in Baltimore in the Hispanic community. And we'll also have two town halls, my Wednesday night town halls about it. So I just wanted to plug that as well.
Well, we thank you for being a trailblazer as the first city elected Hispanic on the Baltimore City Council. We truly appreciate what you mean to this body. We look forward to celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with you.
Thank you very much. And then last, a moment of silence request for Inez Hawks. She was the founder, one of the founders of the Coldstream Homestead Montebello Community Corporation. They call her Auntie Bushy there, and she was a great strength in revitalizing the community. And so we wanted to honor her. She passed away August 27th. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Are there any additional announcements for regular announcements? Hearing and seeing none. Madam Vice President, did we get that name from Councilman Glover? Did he provide you that name?
No, but I did get some names from Councilman Burnett and Councilwoman McCray. I don't know if they want to speak about the people that they mentioned for a moment of silence, but while they're deciding that, I'll just mention a moment of silence for Aisha Washington. Was a long-serving person with MACO. She really ran the fellows program, which I am a graduate, and from the University of Maryland College Park through MACO, and she ran that program um, for the University of Maryland for many, many, many years, and suddenly passed away September 2nd. So prayers and condolences to her family. She had that program running so well and was just well known all over the University of Maryland campus by the president and also by all the former elected officials that have been graduates throughout the state of Maryland.
And we're just gonna call him Baby Austin. I don't have his last name, but that's the name that
Okay,
Councilmember Glover wanted to raise up.
okay.
Before we adjourn and move on to a moment of silence, I do have one final announcement. Next Monday at 2 p.m., the Maryland Department of Transportation, as well as Baltimore City Department of Transportation, will be hosting an annual MDOT Roadshow to present the state's draft of 5-year transportation capital plan. Council members, you will be receiving an invitation soon from the Department of Transportation staff and from members of the public. Information on how you can view the presentation will be published on the council's website. Again, this is a very important announcement. This is for the 5-year transportation capital plan. We understand and know how the transportation capital budget impacts neighborhoods, impacts development, impacts the growth of our city. So I ask everyone in the general public, as well as some members of the council, to participate on next Monday at 2 p.m. Now on to you, Madam Vice President. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next meeting of the City Council will be held on Monday, September 20, 2021 at 5 p.m. And may we have a moment of silence for Inez Hawks, Michael Watson Sr., Portia Stokes Williams, Stephen Bonnet, Aisha Washington, and Baby Austin, and also for the now 238 victims of homicide to date in our city, and the 1,158 COVID deaths. And of course, we pray for our continued to reach out to family members in your community. This is also Suicide Prevention Month. So may we say a special moment of silence for the number of suicides that have increasing by the moment as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, everyone. There being no new business before the desk, I will adjourn and conclude the 17th meeting of the 73rd term of your Baltimore City Council. Baltimore City, we love you. Go Ravens.